Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you guys here on this February 9th, 2025, a Sunday. Appreciate you tuning in. We're going to get started. We're going to talk about a number of things, but I'm going to tell you guys right up front. It's the financial part of all of what's going on is getting ready to begin, and it's going to be inflationary. We're moving into an inflationary period coming right up that's going to be profound because during the last administration, the Biden administration, they did a lot of tightening, and that's something that just doesn't happen overnight. Like you do the tightening, you get a delayed effect into the future at some point from the tightening that you're doing. And what I'm expecting is a slowdown and what they call a recession. And when that hits, they're going to have to stimulate. This administration, do not underestimate how quick they can prop the economy back up with cheap, easy, funny money. I'm going to tell you the sense out there for gold and silver. It's not quite the time yet. I'm sensing that for the big massive move in gold and silver. It's getting close, so it's getting closer and closer. I hear this talk coming. I've been talking for years about how gold and silver is going to have a massive move. It's going to disappear. I'll go back over some of the things I said in the past, how when the time comes, you're going to see the rich people, the people who have a lot of money, they're going to buy it up quite suddenly, the silver and the gold, at a certain specific point. When they get nervous over the purchasing power of all the money that they've... Look, the amount of money that money, what I call money, it's not money, it's Federal Reserve notes. It's IOUs. But what they've done is, for a period of time, they've accumulated massive quantities. Billions and billions and billions are sitting on the sidelines right now. And they've put a lot of work in to accumulate all of this, what you would call wealth, but it's fugazi, it's fiat currency. And they got it sitting there, these really rich people, hundreds of billions, trillions, actually trillions. When you take in all of the rich people out there who are holding and packing all of this fugazi, all this cheap, easy money, this paper, fantastic, what do you call it, notes, Federal Reserve notes. They've been accumulating. There's going to come a point in time, in not too distant future, when they're going to say, hey, you know what? This stuff is going to go down the hole, down the toilet hole. And if I hang on to this and I don't put it into something that's going to retain my purchasing power, I'm going to lose and lose big. At a certain point, they're all going to start thinking that way suddenly in a big way. That hasn't quite happened yet. It's not quite ready to happen, but it's coming. And there's not that much out there that you can, if you're not going to be holding fiat currencies. What else is there? Well, you'd think that there'd be just tons of stuff out there, but there's not. It's very, very very small, the avenues out. In other words, the fire exits. So you got an auditorium right now full of people. Soon, very soon, not quite yet, but very soon, somebody's going to yell fire in that auditorium. And there's very few exit doors. So what's the exit doors? Well, obviously gold and silver. Those are two big exit doors. And then there's cryptos, Then there's things like art, fine art, things like collectibles, things like that. There are places. There's not a lot. There's not a lot of doors out, though, when the fiat starts to go down. But the desperation there, when that starts to happen, when it really starts to happen, and everybody says, oh my gosh, my money's losing money. I've accumulated, maybe the guy says, I've accumulated $2 billion, right? And I know that in this next year I'm going to lose like 30% of my money because of inflation. That's the kind of inflation that's going to trigger them, by the way. Right now, the Fed's out there playing this game, like, oh, inflation's at 2% or whatever, 3%, whatever. It's ridiculous. Because, I go in the store and I look at an item, and I looked at a couple items yesterday, and I said, that's went up 8 times in the past 10 years. It's 8 times what it used to be. It was an item that's went up a lot. 10 years ago, I could have got it for 1/8 the price, And so they say that the inflation's 2%. Well, if it really was 2%, it would take 50 years for it to double once. But they're playing this game of shrinking everything. Everything you buy is almost smaller. You get less. You get half as much as you used to at 4 times the price. Okay? In the last 10 years. 4 times the price, half as much as you used to get. So that's 8 times. Like I say, 8 times. You're paying 8 times more. It's going to hit them all of a sudden. See, underneath the core of all of this stuff that's going on, we've got a steady increasing rate of inflation that's behind the scenes. So they can do whatever they want. They can tighten. They can actually have a deflation. They could tighten so much if they wanted to. They could tighten so much that they could have a deflationary period. They could create deflation. But still, behind the scenes, that thing that they started with the Fed, that's the Ponzi scheme that's running, is on an exponential, and it's running behind the scenes. They have to keep catching up to that line that's going up on a curve. It's like a hockey stick curve. It's ever increasing. The loss of value in the dollar. You've all seen that picture that they got where it shows the dollar losing its value from like 1914 till now, like it's lost like 98% of its value or whatever. That's what I'm talking about right now. That's running in the background, and it's on an exponential, and they have to keep up with that. So if they start to tighten, you can't tighten the Ponzi. What'll happen is behind the scenes, that's still running, and it's still on the exponential. So then when they get their deflation, or they get their depression, or whatever they're going to get from all this tightening and stuff, they have to catch up with that line. Otherwise, the system's going to implode on itself. So right now, because of the tightening that was done during the Biden administration, we haven't kept up. It's been walking. That line has been walking in the background. It's way up high now, and they have to catch up to that. Now, following me just for a second longer, that line, that invisible line of the inflationary line, of the loss of value of the purchasing power of the dollar, when they were doing all that stimulus and stuff, they caught up to that line. In fact, they probably passed it just a little bit by all the stimulus they did during COVID. But then they stopped and they started to tighten. And then they fell down below the line. Now we're below the line. We got to catch up to it, or the economy is going to have problems, big problems. It was very difficult to explain that, but it's on an exponential, that line. That line is going to hit, it's going to cross the line in the sand. It's going up. Nobody can stop it. The only way to stop it would be to overhaul the entire monetary system. That line's going to cross a point in the sand on its way up on its exponential curve, where it's going to lead to profoundly high inflation, and then the people are going to lose confidence. Now, I can't tell you the exact point in time when the people are going to lose confidence, but that's when the rich people are going to buy up all the silver, when they start to really lose confidence. And we're getting so close, and they're going to all buy it all up overnight. And there's going to be nobody to blame. You're not going to be able to do like when you did with the Hunt brothers, go after, there's just 2 guys there, and they went after the Hunt brothers tooth and nail because they tried to corner the silver market. And they put a scare into everybody else. You're not going to be able to do that this time. When the rich attack the silver market this time, they're going to do it en masse. There's going to be hundreds of them, maybe hundreds of rich people diving in. And it's going to be like, who do you prosecute? Who do you attack? You can't, because it's going to be all of them. It's going to be safety in numbers. They're going to tear into silver. They're going to tear into gold. And there's just so much money that, and this is what I told you guys, and you're going to remember when I tell you that what's going to happen is the gold and the silver are going to disappear. You ain't going to be able to buy it. And then because there's shortages, especially in silver, they're going to say, okay, you're not going to be allowed to buy it no more unless you've got a license. They're going to be like, why do you want it if you want go in and try to buy it? Selling it, no problem. You're going to be able to sell your silver. When that time comes, it's going to be so easy to sell silver. I know we've went through little periods now where people take their silver to the coin dealer, and the coin dealer doesn't want to give them spot or whatever, and it's a little bit hard to sell or whatever. We've been going through these fluctuating periods. But when the silver and gold markets are finally fully exposed and they tear into these things, and they're gonna, it's not going to be like that. It's going to be easy to sell, but difficult to buy. Right now, it's easy to buy and hard to sell, and sometimes. It's going to be totally different animal. And then when that happens, you're going to see all these little shops pop up all across America and here in Canada too, and everywhere, Great Britain. All these little shops pop up in every street corner, and they'll just go in and paint a sign on the window. They'll buy one of these, not buy it, but lease one of these buildings. So many buildings are up for lease now because people have moved businesses and stuff because of COVID and stuff. And every shop corner they'll have one. They'll just paint a sign on the end of the window. We buy gold. It'll say on the sign. We buy silver. Cash paid for gold or whatever. So people will come into those shops and sell their gold and silver because the economy is getting so bad with all the hyperinflation they can't afford to live. And what'll happen is in that silver and gold will go into the back room where it'll get sorted into pots, graded, like this is 10 karat pot, 14 karat pot, 18 karat pot, 22 karat pot, and then they have they get it full of gold, and then the guy comes in from the company or whatever with the Brinks truck, picks it up, takes it to a place where they smelt it back down in the bars, and where does it end up? Back in the vault at the Federal Reserve. They're going to get all of the gold. That's how they're going to get everybody's gold. Because they're going to get everybody desperate enough where people have to sell it for food. And they're not going to have to confiscate anything. They're not going to have to go from house to house trying to get your gold and your silver. They're going to get it. You're going to bring it to them willingly. And then they're going to smelt it into bars and put it in their vault where they had all the rest of it. You know, and so they're going to make us poorer than... In the end, we're going to be so poor, we're not going to be able to feed ourselves, but they're going to have their vaults full of whatever they can get. Their plans is, the world leaders and stuff, is to get all the gold. They're going for the gold. They want, and the silver. They want it all. They want all the precious metals. Man, I've went on a bit of a tear there, but it needed to be said, you know. What's going on in the world? North Korean leader Kim Jong-un vows to further develop his nuclear forces. They're all doing it. The whole world right now. They're all building their nuclear weapon arsenals as fast as they can. So North Korea is no different. Now Ukraine's new F-16 fighter jets have been stripped of key capabilities. Long-awaited F-16s, but there's significantly limitations. It hinders their effectiveness. They don't have Link 16, so they can't fire long-range missiles like the ATACMS. Point 2, these jets can still assist in downing drones and cruise missiles. Experts question whether they can meaningfully shift the balance of Ukraine's favor with urgent upgrades and additional Western support. It says they're too outdated to make an impact in the war. Why bother giving to them if they're too outdated to make an impact? Because it costs us, people over here, it costs us a lot of money whenever they down one of those things. Let me tell you that. Now, there's a bunch of protesters in the United States, and they're shouting, "Stop the coup." The protesters are shouting about Trump. Stop the coup. Stop the coup. What am I missing here? 'Cause Trump was duly elected president of the United States. That's not a coup. He's president. What's the coup? What am I missing here? Is there a coup? A coup, isn't that when somebody else tries to take over a country or something, and tries to depose the elected leadership? That's not what's going on here. Trump was duly elected president of the United States. It's not a coup. Unless I'm missing something here. I mean, everybody let me know what I'm missing here, but I just don't see that. Uh, Now, here's an article that got me. Obama appointed judge blocks Trump's administration's officials' access to sensitive Treasury records, and they're citing cybersecurity risk. An Obama appointed judge blocks the Trump administration officials' access to sensitive Treasury records. Oh boy. That is the mother lode. In my mind, that's the first thing that goes through my head is, oh man, they're blocking. That's where all the real vital information is, right there. Sensitive Treasury records. What would that show? Would that show where the money went? You ever heard the old saying, follow the money? Follow the money? Well, this is the path of the money. Treasury records, it seems to me, is the path of the money. And it says sensitive. I guess they're probably sensitive. It probably shows, I imagine it's just a big pile of papers that show a trail toward all of the endeavors that they've been doing. That's all of the deals, side deals, and all of the crooked stuff that goes on in the system. It's probably just a big pile of crookedness. I'm telling you, honest to goodness. No wonder they want to block it. They don't want anybody to know or expose what's been going on for years. And so what they're doing is evidently they're digging. Evidently they're digging, and they're trying to get into these sensitive Treasury records. They're trying to block the Trump administration. Well, you know what I think? Good luck with that. He's the president of the United States. Pretty hard to block him. They're doing everything they can. It says a federal judge has temporarily barred the Department of the Government Efficiency, run by Elon Musk, from accessing the personal financial data of millions of Americans kept at the Treasury Department. There's something they don't want them to see in there. I mean, I mean, if everything's on the up and up, there should be no problems taking a look at stuff. You know, uh, America's electric grid. Now we're going to change the subject here. America's electric grid is at risk, and it says we need coal to save it. Well, I think it's a simple matter of that they just cannot produce enough power to run all of North America. Uh, because it takes an awful lot of electricity to run all the stuff that we got in our modern lifestyles and stuff. And the electrical grid is becoming dangerously unreliable to run everything. Uh, it says the nation is hurtling toward a future where rolling blackouts and power shortages will be the normal. So if you don't want that, you've got to supplement the power grid with more power. You've got to give it more power. Now, Chinese have just invented a never-ending power source. It's like in the Willy Wonka movie. They used to have this never-ending gobstopper. You know, you put the gobstopper in your mouth and suck on it, and you could suck on it forever because it would never wear out. That's what the power source the Chinese now have is like. It's from the sun. It's a miniature sun that they're actually creating on the Earth, and they've got it to run for 1,000 seconds, which is basically they've achieved it. From what I never heard of over unity yet. I don't know for sure, but I imagine they must be. If they ran the thing for 1,000 seconds, probably over unity. And that means that they're producing free energy. So you get a whole bunch of those working, and then the world won't have any problems. But it's not here yet. And so our power grid's becoming dangerously unreliable. It has to be supplemented, and what are they going to supplement it with? Coal is seems to be a really good thing, you know. Now, what they need to do is they need to put some sort of scrubbers in or something, some sort of a like they have in the cars with the catalytic converters, you know, except for the coal mill, so they can scrub the fumes as they're coming up through that stack, you know, up through the pipe. The naturally heat makes them rise, and they could put some sort of scrubber in there or whatever to get rid of the pollution, so that they could make it cleaner. I think that they could do that. Uh, must be able to do that with the technology we have now. Now silver has been going up. It's at 31.79. That's where it finished the week. Uh, it's soon, guys. Remember I said that we need to get 1 quarter under our belt before the inflation machine from the Trump administration really starts to kick into high gear. I think it's a good thing. I think that the inflation that they're going to come in and the stimulus that they're going to do is a good thing. It'll stimulate the economy and get it back going again. The biggest mistake ever made was when the Biden administration got out there and they tried to tighten into weakness. That was the stupidest thing to ever do. The best thing to do right now is to stimulate the entire economy, send out do it all over again. Send me stimmy checks, send money out there and get the economy pumping, get it going again, get the consumer, get everything hot. Then go into your hyperinflation with a hot economy, and you'll survive it so much better. It's like I'm a doctor, you know, and I get a patient comes in and he needs an operation or something. And he's all weak and anemic. And say, hey, build up this guy's blood first before we operate. You know, get his platelet levels up and get everything, his system working good, and get him healthy. Feed him a bunch of good food and stuff, and get him healthy first. Then bring him in for the operation. Well, that's what the country's like. The country's anemic right now. You got to pump it up, pump it up, pump it up. And then go into your hyperinflation, and you'll survive it so much easier for the people and stuff. It sounds counterintuitive, but this is a Ponzi. You can't taper a Ponzi. The Biden administration tried to taper a Ponzi. You've got to feed a Ponzi. And then when you get it up to hyperspeed and the economy's going really good, that's when to do your switcheroony and get rid of the old and set up some sort of new monetary system that's run on sound money. But you got to get everything stimulated up to speed first, you know. So silver's at 31.79. This is going to be the year for silver. But this front side, the machine's got to get going first. You know, to really start racking up the price. And they sense it. The people who buy and trade silver and gold and everything else, they're sensing something's going on. They know something's going on. I'm telling you guys what's going on. What's going on is going to be toward the end of the year. We might actually go through a period where gold and silver take a little bit of a beating down once more time before we get there yet, though. You know, this has been a very slow process. It's taken an awful lot to break these bullion banks, to break their back. Who was that? That wrestler or whatever. He says, I break their backs. Anyway, that's just something else. Let's move on here and take a look at our cryptocurrency right now. And Bitcoin is 96,267. Still riding high, you know. But, I mean, this market is going to do what it's that's just my opinion, but I think it's going to do what it's done over and over and over again. In other words, it goes up to a certain point, sets a new high, higher than it ever was before, and then it gets cut in half. And then it sits there and it simmers for a while, like a volcano. And then it starts to rumble, and then it starts to go into another bull market again, where it goes up to a new high like never seen before. And it does that wash, rinse, repeat, wash, rinse, repeat. And so probably somewhere between, say, 95,000 and 150,000. I know that's quite a big spread there. But somewhere in there it's going to peak. And then we're going to see it get cut in half. And then we're going to see it sit there for about 2 years, stagnant. And then everybody's going to get excited about it again. And then it's going to go up to 250,000. So if you buy it right now, you're going to have to wait several years before it goes back into a bull market again before you're able. But you're going to get hurt because you're going to get cut in half. So say you buy it at 96 and it gets cut down to 60. You know. Now if you go and sell it at 60, see that this is what the guys do is they go out and buy it right now because it's hot. It's a hot commodity. Buy it right now. And then what happens is when it drops down to 60,000, they sell it. And then they wait until it gets back up to 250,000, and then they buy it again. Then it falls back down to 125, and then they sell it. And that's not the way it works. The way it works is right now you're like, leave it alone, let it peak, let it go back down. When it gets down to 60,000 and it gets knocked in half, that's when you go in, you buy some, and then you wait for it to go up to 250,000. When it gets up to 250,000, you get rid of it. That's how it works. That's how the traders do it and stuff. They don't fool around. Of course, that's their business. And they have to make money. Taking a look at what's happened in the markets this week, the S&P 500 has dropped 57 points to the S&P 500 is at 6025, and the Dow is at 44,303. It's dropped 444 points. Dow's down a little bit over the week this week. The crude oil 71.06. Gold is at 28.87 this week. Taking a look at our bonds and rates this week, and we've seen climbing yields over the week, around 6 basis points and 4.7 basis points up on the 30-year. So 30 years at 4.69, and the 10-year is at 4.95. And taking a look at our dollar, it's at 108, really high, but that doesn't matter. The dollar could go to 3,000 on the dollar index and still be worth half of what it's worth now. Your purchasing power is only worth 50 cents because it's being compared to other fiat currencies that are going down the same drain hole. I mean, you got to compare it against something that's good and strong to get an accurate reading. Anyway, listen, guys, thank you guys for listening to my show. You guys have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.